For decades, one question has echoed through the world of music. Why did ABBA, arguably the biggest band on the planet, just walk away? At the absolute peak of their fame, with 9 number-one hits and a level of global adoration that was almost a religion, they just stopped. They never officially broke up. They just took a break. A break that, for all intents and purposes, lasted 4 decades. We've all heard the whispers, the rumors of bitter feuds and creative burnout. But the real story, pieced together, from years of candid reflections from the band members themselves, including the man behind the melodies, Benny Andersson, confirms the devastating truth we always suspected. This is the real story of what tore ABBA apart. It wasn't money. It wasn't fame. It was something far more fragile. It was about love and the unbearable pain of watching it fall apart, note by heartbreaking note, in the very studio that was once their sanctuary. The story of ABBA is the story of 4 people and 2 couples. Their lives became so tangled up in their music that when their relationships shattered, the band itself was broken beyond repair. For years, the official line was that the band simply ran out of steam. But Benny Andersson, in a number of interviews over the years, has helped pull back the curtain on that carefully managed story. He's confirmed that the end of ABBA wasn't some artistic choice, but a matter of emotional survival. The glittering disco balls and sequined jumpsuits were hiding a deep and growing sadness. The smiles on stage became masks. The studio, once a place of joy, turned into a room filled with tension and tears. The awful truth was that the 2 divorces that rocked the band didn't just end 2 marriages, they silenced the magic that was ABBA. This is the story of that ending, confirming the heartbreak that fans have heard echoing in their later music for all these years. Before the cracks started to show, there was a golden era so perfect, it felt like a myth. ABBA wasn't just a band. They were a force of nature that completely redefined pop music in the 1970s. Their trip to global domination started in a single moment of pure joy. It was 1974 at the Eurovision Song Contest in Brighton, England. 4 Swedes, who were not yet household names, took the stage in wild, glittering costumes and blasted out a song called Waterloo. It was an explosion of glam rock, pop hooks, and charm, and the world was instantly hooked. That victory launched a career that made them one of the best-selling artists in history, with hundreds of millions of records sold. They were a unique package right from the start. The name itself, an acronym of their first names, Agnetha, Björn, Benny, and Annie Frida, felt like a team, and at the heart of that team was a storybook romance. 2 happy couples. The blonde, angelic Agnetha Feltskog was married to the band's wordsmith, Björn Ulvaeus, and the fiery redhead Frida Lyngstad was with the musical genius, Benny Andersson. This wasn't just a band. It was an aspirational dream of love, friendship, and shared success that the world bought into completely. The hits just kept coming, an unstoppable stream of pop perfection. SOS, Mamma Mia, Fernando, Dancing Queen. Every song was a masterpiece. Benny and Björn were the architects, building these incredible walls of sound with layers of vocals and instruments that were both complex and impossible not to sing along to. Dancing Queen became their anthem, a song of pure joy that hit #1 all over the world, including the United States, cementing them as pop royalty. Their music crossed borders and language barriers. In an age before the internet, they achieved a level of fame that was unheard of for a non-English-speaking group. A popular story even claims that due to currency embargoes in the Soviet Union, they were paid in oil commodities. Their look was just as iconic as their sound. The platform boots, the spangled jumpsuits, the capes, it was all part of the ABBA brand. They understood the power of an image and were pioneers of the music video long before MTV existed, creating mini-movies for their songs that brought the stories to life. This blend of musical genius and visual flair created a whole world for their fans to escape into. It was a world of sunshine and optimism. From the outside, it looked like they had it all. They had even founded their own company, Polar Music, operating with a spirit of unity and partnership. They were on top of the world, a perfect glittering machine. But even the most perfect machines have breaking points, and the pressure of that fame was starting to wear on the very foundation of the group, their relationships. Behind the smiles and the harmonies, the fairy tale was starting to crumble. Timmy. Non-stop cycle of recording, promoting, and touring was a massive strain, not just on them as artists, but on their marriages. The image of two happy couples that the world loved was becoming a lie. In 1979, the first crack appeared when Agnetha and Björn announced they were getting a divorce. Agnetha, who fell in love with Björn when she was just 19, always found fame to be a struggle. She was a natural homebody, and the guilt of being away from her two young children while on tour was immense. The constant travel and screaming crowds were the exact opposite of the quiet family life she wanted. Björn, on the other hand, was the engine driving the band's business and creative side. That engine had to keep running, and the distance between them grew until it was just too vast. Publicly, they tried to spin it, calling it a happy divorce, and promising everyone that it wouldn't affect the band. But for Agnetha, it was anything but happy. She later said she felt mangled by the split and needed counseling to cope. To make matters even more painful, Björn began a new relationship within a week of their separation. Now they had to stand, side by side on stage, exes singing love songs to each other. They had to work together in the studio and pretend for the cameras that everything was okay. The dynamic had completely changed. The warmth was gone, replaced by a tension you could feel. This personal tragedy, however, led to one of ABBA's greatest artistic achievements. As the main lyricist, Björn started pouring their shared pain right into the music. The result was The Winner Takes It All, one of the most raw and emotionally honest breakup songs ever written. The lyrics felt like they were torn directly from their private arguments. He then had to ask his ex-wife, the woman whose heart he had just broken, to sing the words, "Tell me, does she kiss like I used to kiss you?" It was an unbelievably painful thing to ask. Yet, Agnetha delivered one of the most powerful vocal performances in pop history. She poured every ounce of her own heartbreak into that song. In a 2013 interview, she said, "Björn wrote it about us after the breakdown of our marriage. The fact he wrote it exactly when we divorced is touching, really. It was fantastic to do that song because I could put in such feeling." The song was a massive hit, but it marked a huge turning point. The cheerful optimism of their early work was being replaced by a deep, beautiful melancholy. The fans could hear the pain, and it signaled that the sunny world of ABBA was now permanently shadowed. They survived the first divorce, but the band that came out on the other side was wounded. The magic that came from two couples in love was gone for good. The band kept going after Björn and Agnetha's split, but things were never the same. The smiles felt forced, the joy manufactured. They were total pros, but the emotional heart of the group had been ripped out. And then, just 2 years later, in February 1981, the last pillar holding up the fragile structure of ABBA fell when Benny and Frida announced their own divorce. Their relationship had also collapsed under the weight of stardom. And just like Björn, Benny moved on quickly, marrying someone else later that same year, leaving Frida heartbroken. Now, both of the iconic ABBA romances were over. The band built on love was now just 4 individuals bound by contracts, working, in a room haunted by the ghosts of their happiness. This is the point, as Benny Andersson has explained over the years, where the fun just died. The recording studio, once a creative playground, became just a place of work, and often a place of pain. He described the final years from 1981 to 1982 as simply uninspired. He admitted that the creative spark was gone, snuffed out by the emotional exhaustion of their private lives falling apart. It wasn't about art anymore. It was about survival. You can hear that chill in their final studio album, The Visitors. It's a masterpiece, but a different kind. It's somber, introspective, and haunting, the unofficial soundtrack to their breakup. The bright, happy colors of their pop prime had faded into melancholy shades of autumn. The lyrics, more than ever, mirrored their reality. When All Is Said and Done, sung by Frida, is a mature, poignant look at the end of her relationship with Benny. Their final recording sessions in 1982 produced a few last tracks, most famously, The Day Before You Came. The song is maybe ABBA's darkest and most mysterious creation. Sung by Agnetha in an almost numb, detached voice, it describes a boring, routine life. But the music underneath is unsettling, filled with a sense of dread. It feels like a metaphor for the band itself, just going through the motions with the joy completely gone. The light had gone out. After these sessions, the band just stopped. They announced a temporary break at the end of 1982, but there was no farewell tour, no big announcement. They just faded away. As we now know, that break was, for all intents and purposes, permanent. The emotional toll was just too high. As Benny would later say, they simply had no energy left to give. The final straw wasn't one big fight, but the cumulative weight of 2 divorces and the impossible task of making happy music with broken hearts. For decades, the members of ABBA mostly stuck to the script about the split, citing a hiatus and creative fatigue. They famously turned down a reported $1 billion offer to reunite in 2000, which only made the mystery deeper. But over the years, especially from Benny Andersson, the real story has emerged bit by bit. It confirms what fans had pieced together from the clues in their later music. ABBA ended because the divorces made it emotionally impossible to go on. In candid moments, Benny has been remarkably direct. He's made it clear that the band's end wasn't about musical disagreements or fights over the spotlight. It was about the deep personal pain of 4 people whose lives were completely intertwined. Things were happening in real life, not just in our working life, he explained, noting how the divorces destroyed their working dynamic to a point where it just wasn't productive anymore. He described the decision to stop as a matter of survival. The pretense had become too much. The magic of ABBA was born from a real, positive energy between the 4 of them. When that energy soured into sadness and tension, the music started to suffer in their eyes. The collaboration became a chore. Benny also confirmed another long-held theory. He and Björn were approached by lyricist Tim Rice to write a musical, which became the hit Chess. This wasn't the cause of the split, but a consequence of it. It offered them a creative escape from the emotionally charged environment of ABBA. "We said we want to try this thing, writing for the theater," Benny recalled, and Tim Rice came along, so that gave us a big opportunity. We wrote Chess, and after that we said, what's the point in going back? Because we liked this. It wasn't that they chose theater over ABBA. It was that ABBA was no longer a happy place to be. Benny's reflections provide a sense of closure that fans wanted for 40 years. It validates what we always felt in the music. The sadness in The Visitors, the raw pain in The Winner Takes. It all, the numbness in The Day Before You Came. It was all real. Benny's statements over the years aren't a shocking new revelation, but the final authoritative acknowledgement of a truth that was hiding in plain sight, woven into their most mature and lasting songs. After ABBA's break in 1982, the 4 members went their separate ways, each trying to navigate life after being in the world's biggest band. For a long time, that seemed to be the end of the story, but the music just refused to die. Benny and Björn, of course, found huge success with Chess, which produced the hit One Night in Bangkok. But their greatest post-ABBA achievement was Mamma Mia, the global smash hit musical that sparked A new wave of ABBA mania in 1999 and introduced their songs to a whole new generation. Agnetha and Frida both pursued solo careers. Frida had a hit with her Phil Collins-produced album, Something's Going On. Agnetha also released several albums, but largely chose to step back from the spotlight, preferring a quiet life in Sweden. Despite the difficult history, the four of them managed to remain friends, a remarkable achievement in itself. Then, in 2018, the impossible happened. ABBA announced they had recorded new songs, which grew into a full album, Voyage, released in 2021. It was a global smash. But the reunion came with an innovative twist. Instead of a grueling tour, they launched ABBA Voyage, a revolutionary virtual concert in London. Digital avatars, or avatars, depicting the group in their 1979 prime, perform with a live band. The project used cutting-edge technology, with all four members performing in motion capture suits for weeks, assisted by younger body doubles for some of the more complex choreography, to embed their souls into their digital selves. The show has been a staggering success, with its run extended into 2026. Today, ABBA's legacy is more secure than ever. They are careful stewards of that legacy, overseeing everything from remastered and spatial audio versions of their classics to the revolutionary Voyage show. Their music is a source of pure joy for multiple generations, a staple at parties and karaoke bars everywhere. The story of ABBA is a bittersweet symphony. It's a story of a meteoric rise, but it's also a deeply human story of love, heartbreak, and the cost of fame. For years, we listened to the shifting moods in their music and wondered what was really going on. We felt the joy in Dancing Queen and the pain in The Winner Takes It All, and we suspected they were two sides of the same story. Now, we know the truth. The band didn't end over money or creative fights. It ended because the two love stories that formed its soul were over, and it was just too painful to pretend. The music was always a reflection of their lives, and when their lives fractured, the music had to stop. But in a beautiful twist, their story wasn't over. After 40 years, they returned, not to relive the past, but to reinvent it. With Voyage, they found a new way to share their music, bridging their legendary past with an innovative future. The final truth about ABBA's split isn't a scandal. It's a poignant reminder that behind every great song is a human heart. The music of ABBA lasts not just because it's catchy, but because it's true. And that is a legacy that will never fade. What's your favorite ABBA song? And does knowing the story behind it change how you hear it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest artists. Thanks for watching.